In the fabled land of Northern California, nestled in the Valley of Sacramento, two friends begin a journey to enlighten the world about their experience living life as a Xennial. But what is a Xennial, you may ask? If you wish to know, then follow them on their adventures.
Welcome to the Xennial Chronicles. This is James.
This is Mike.
Okay, today we are going to talk a little bit about cover songs. This is kind of based on a conversation we were just about to have.
And we figured, why not turn the mics on?
Yes, record it. Let's not just have a conversation that has really neat things that could happen in it without recording it and possibly using it for something.
Yeah, totally. Why not?
So the thing that brought this up was the band Weezer, who has recently done a whole cover album is what you were telling me?
Yeah, essentially the idea was somebody tweeted Weezer, or at least that's the story. Somebody tweeted Weezer and said, hey, you guys should cover Africa by Toto.
That I remember.
Right? So what ended up happening was give it like a month, and then they released, instead of Africa, they released another Toto song. I don't think it was Hold the Line. I think it was something else. I can't remember which one it was. And they were basically trolling everybody, and they did it on purpose.
Yeah.
So they did that.
But they did release Africa.
And then eventually, like in the next couple of months, they released Africa. And also, side note, Toto also covered Hash Pipe.
Yes.
Which
I remember that.
I thought that was kind of fun. I mean, again,
and interestingly,
it sounds different.
I think it's the current lead singer. I know he wasn't the lead singer of Toto when Africa came out, which would have made it even funnier.
Yeah.
But the current lead singer, I believe, of Toto is actually was actually the singing voice for adult Simba in the original Lion King. Matthew Broderick. Matthew Broderick, who interestingly enough is a well-trained musical theater actor on Broadway.
He could sing himself.
For some reason, they had the other guy do the singing.
I did not know that. That's fascinating.
I believe he is related to a film composer. I just don't know which one.
Oh, man.
And he's like the son of a famous film composer. And again, he's not the Toto singer who did Africa, but he is related to a film composer and is the, I believe, current singer or one of the singers of or of Toto at some point or another.
That's awesome. I had no idea.
Funny little note. Anyway, go on.
Okay, so what ended up happening was eventually they released Africa, and it came out, and everybody just fell in love with it.
It's
but
a good
what
version.
People weren't privy to was that Weezer was actually doing. I think they also released an originals album recently as well. I can't remember.
I'm sure, but I know they've been touring.
There's a new album that's a new color, and I can't remember what it's called, but they did the Blue album. And they did, they kind of do that. Anyway, so Weezer released another album as well, I think, but more recently they released this entire covers album, and they were doing it all in the back, all like in secret, where nobody knew anything about it.
I know.
So there are
heard
covers of stuff all over the place.
Well, I've heard the Take on Me cover.
Yeah, Take on Me,
which is amazing.
Here, let me.
But Mike, I think, is looking up the Weezer album now, but I'm going to add some kind of exposition to what we were talking about. Mike made the comment as we were discussing this that it's not necessarily the best thing to compare a cover song to its original version. And I told him, no, I think it's actually a good thing to do. And that's part of what we were going to discuss was various cover songs and various versions comparatively. So here's the list.
Mike, I was saying it was how I was saying they got a thing for colors. Yeah. This covers album is called the Teal album.
Teal.
I
had a car that was teal.
I think it's an 80s throwback, and that's what it is, mainly from everything I'm seeing.
Okay. Yeah, you remember the first car I had when we met? That Sunbird I had?
Yeah.
That was actually teal.
Yes. Man. Okay, so check this out.
Yeah.
All right, here's the opening title is Africa that everybody was going nuts for. They do Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
Tears for Fears. Okay.
They do Sweet Dreams.
Really? Is it a more in the Eurythmics version of it?
That's more like, a lot of what they're doing with this stuff is, they are getting a lot closer to the original tracks.
Okay, because Sweet Dreams is one of those that I would bring up as a cover song that,
totally.
Depending on your feelings of it, you may like the cover or you may like the original. But we'll bring that up later in the conversation.
Yeah, totally. Let's see. They do Take on Me, which they released a video for it, and it is fantastic.
Amazing video for it.
Absolutely fantastic. Happy Together by the Turtles.
I can see them doing that. That makes
totally.
A lot of sense.
It fits completely.
That always makes me think of the movie Ernest Goes to Camp. But anyway.
Paranoid by Black Sabbath. Mr. Blue
Weird.
Sky by ELO.
Wow.
No Scrubs by TLC.
Actually, okay. We had a discussion about the MCU discussion.
Yes.
I was talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Mr. Blue Sky is the opening song to second Guardians of the Galaxy
nice.
movie. It's an amazing sequence where there's a bunch of action going on around it. People are getting flung all over the place, and little baby Groot is dancing to the song.
Oh, that's great.
And so he's just dancing along as like they're fighting this gigantic cosmic worm thing. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
But anyway, go on.
Okay, Mr. Blue Sky, they do No Scrubs. I think I said that already.
We discussed that previous to the recording.
Oh, okay, yeah. So No Scrubs.
This is
TLC.
No Scrubs by TLC.
Yep.
That's interesting to me.
Billie Jean, they do Billie Jean.
Okay.
And they also do Stand By Me.
Really?
Yes, their closing track is Stand By Me.
Interesting.
So it's a 10-song album, pretty basic as far as yours. Most albums are around 10 songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm loving the layout.
That is an interesting set of songs.
I will tell you this. I know there were a lot of complaints that I've heard about, especially some older listeners listening to this album.
Yeah.
Mainly it was because the juxtaposition of Cuomo's guitar tone. Rivers Cuomo's guitar tone is not what you hear from the classic. They've got this, obviously, like when you listen to the original Buddy Holly, they're obviously like their thing is a throwback to like the 50s 60s era.
Yeah.
Rock and roll, almost doo-wop, but not quite.
Yeah.
They're like, it's almost like a trying to be the Beatles thing ish. Very, very Buddy Holly-esque essentially. But the thing is
Buddy Holly wasn't trying to be the Beatles. He was trying to be better than the Beatles, but whatever.
Well, Buddy Holly was before the Beatles, wasn't he?
No, they would have been close to contemporaries.
When did
We'll have to look up the exact
I was
date.
going to say, when did Holly and Richie Valens and Bopper die?
I don't remember exactly, but
I got to look up when American Pie went down now. Okay, so anyways, they've got that aesthetic. They've got that, well, it's more 50s rock aesthetic. So they've got that 50s rock kind of aesthetic thing going, which is, I think it's cool. The juxtaposition of their style, though, is the fact that they have modern grunge-esque tones in this. It's almost like a positive grunge sound, I guess. Yeah. Like this. A lot of stuff's in major key.
Post grunge.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff is major key. It'd be a post grunge kind of a thing. But the thing I love about this band more than anything is that guitar tone is massive, and I believe Cuomo is. I think he studied at MIT. I don't think he's a graduate. But he was originally big in like 80s shred guitar. Well, I believe he's a Harvard graduate, but originally he was studying at MIT and he was learning classical guitar and stuff, but he was a big shred head back in the 80s when he was a kid.
So he was like that a guitar tone fan.
Yeah, very much so. Malmsteen, Eddie Van Halen, like that kind of stuff. Total shred head, loved the technique and all that kind of stuff, and then got into theory. And eventually what he did was he ditched the reason why the Take On Me video looks like what it does is because they're taking influence from his teenage years. Yeah. Because that's what he looked like as a teenager. Like or at least that's the story. Now it would make a lot of sense because of what I've known from, when he was doing that kind of stuff. Yeah. But he completely ditched that and went straight way throwback after while he was in school, and then he quit MIT. But the guy's got the sickest guitar tone. I swear, it's massive, gargantuan, and I love the fact that it sounds like that. It's ugly.
Being kind of a bit of a gearhead.
Positive sense.
Well, being kind of a gearhead with that stuff, do you know what he does to achieve that kind of a tone?
It sounds very classic to me. It sounds like I could be completely off, and I'm guessing. I don't know. I've never researched his gear, but it sounds to me like the classic soaked Marshall. I doubt it's like a 60s Marshall, like Hendrix Marshall. It sounds more beefy Eddie Van Halen-esque. When you really listen to the guitar tone by itself, it's actually a really good example in the Buddy Holly song. There's one during the guitar solo where the entire band stops, and that take, when you listen to that is a soloed guitar. Everything else is muted. That thing is by itself. If you just listen to where everything's coming in that guitar tone's by itself, you can hear the thickness of the stack. That's definitely at least a half stack. And it's probably got, like what I can hear on it, it's got to have a ribbon mic on it because of the low end. and just how thunky the low end is on it, but then on top of that, how like creamy the high end is at the same time. You don't get that from a small combo.
So funky and creamy.
Yes.
Got it.
It's huge. It's absolutely huge.
So for anybody who is musically inclined listening to this, I hope that's a little bit of fun information.
Yeah.
From the resident music gear expert.
He's got some big ass tone, dude.
Nice.
Like huge. And so
we like big ass.
I do. I like big ass tone.
I just like big ass, but that's a whole different story.
But that aside, like that's kind of my.
Okay, I'm really so that you think is maybe the issue that some people have is the guitar tone isn't necessarily appropriate for the specific songs that they're using.
Right. However, and so it overtakes a lot of what's going on, but they're also adding the synth and like a lot of the original tones from the songs.
I think,
but then they throw that fat guitar right on top of it. It's like listening to if you'll let me for a second, if you ever listen to "Let's Dance" by David Bowie. Okay. Do you know who's playing guitar on that track? Those leads?
Isn't it his regular guitarist?
No.
Who's playing the leads?
His regular guitarist at the time was G.E. Smith, the guy who took over Saturday Night Live's band for the 90s. Mm-hmm. That's Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Go back and listen to it now. You can hear in the vibrato, the slinginess of the strings. That's Stevie Ray.
Okay.
And you can really hear it. It's almost like it's the same thing when you listen to Beat It. You hear the guitar solo on top of the technique, that fat tone, that's Eddie Van Halen, and it is unmistakable.
Interestingly enough, who played the main guitar line on Beat It? Because Eddie only plays the solo.
Isn't it Steve Lukather?
Toto. Yes.
Yeah. Toto was basically Michael Jackson's backing band during Thriller. Yeah.
Isn't that hilarious?
Cool as hell. I thought that was a great set of musicianship for sure.
It's funny to bring it back to the same band that started this.
Yeah.
Toto. But anyway.
Full circle.
Yes, very much.
But
so and see, that's the thing to me is when it comes to the covers, when you're dealing with the covers, having the flavor of the original band, having the flavor of the cover band, the band that's doing the cover, influence the original, I think, is the whole point of doing the cover. You don't want the cover to sound exactly like the original. You want to have something that's distinctive from the band that's doing the cover.
Yeah.
For instance, one of our favorite bands, at least my favorite band completely, I think your favorite band completely, released a whole double album of covers that definitely had their own flavor
it's all their own flavor on every single track.
We're talking about Metallica and the Garage Days Revisited that came out in what, 99, 2000?
I think it was like 90. No, it wasn't 2000 because S&M came out in 2000. That was the final album that Newsted was on. I think it was 98.
98?
Yeah.
That's believable for me around that time period.
And they did a lot of stuff that nobody expected to hear either.
You know that we've had this conversation that we know people that actually were.
You're talking Garage Inc., right? When it was revisited.
Garage Inc. Sorry, Garage Inc. was
but Garage Days Revisited was the second disc.
Yeah,
because
it took the five songs.
You're part right.
It took the 5 songs from the Garage Day Revisited EP, which was Newsted's thing. By the way, our website guy Rob, he had at one point a cassette tape copy of that,
of the original Garage Days.
He had, the
598 EP Garage Days Revisited.
He actually had it in a Walkman, listening to it while he was mowing the lawn on a riding mower at his parents' place, and accidentally, because the brakes were messed up on the mower, they weren't working properly. He accidentally drove the mower into a pond. And I had to help him pull himself and the mower out of the pond. And he was worried. He didn't ruin the cassette, luckily, but he actually drove the mower into the pond. That was a fun day.
That's terrible.
That was a fun day. His brother was freaking out. Not because Rob was in the pond and something could happen to Rob, but because his dad's lawnmower might have been damaged by it.
Yeah.
We pulled that thing out of there, tipped it over on its side, and just water pouring out of it. It was hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
I think it still worked afterwards though. But anyway, Garage Inc. was what I was speaking of, my improper usage of stuff. But I was going to say, we actually know people that were at the S&M concert.
Oh, really? Who?
Yes. Rob, our website guy, and the other friend that I have that's a redhead that's slightly taller.
Slightly taller?
Us. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
I don't want to say his name because, again, I don't want to say names of people I don't have permission to.
Oh, but, okay. Yeah.
You know,
our buddy.
Yes.
I know who it is.
But yeah, they got to go to that show. Sadly, I was unable to. But
now I hate them both, James.
I know. I have a.
Thank you.
I have a friend who's one of my Volbeat friends, who's even taller guy. He's a Volbeat friend from seeing him at different Volbeat concerts and whatnot.
Yeah.
He's going to the new symphony show.
Oh, now I really hate that guy. I don't even know who he is.
You may have met him at the San Francisco Volbeat show. Didn't you go to San Francisco?
Yeah, I went to the one where they played the Fillmore.
Yeah, he was the super tall guy that we may have been talking to.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
But anyway, back to covers.
Back to it. Yeah.
Because I can think of some covers that I think really improve on the original song without taking away from the original song.
That's important.
For instance, Sweet Dreams.
The Marilyn Manson version?
Yes, okay. I absolutely love the Marilyn Manson version. It takes and puts a spin on it.
Yeah, totally.
But it's its own thing by putting the spin on it. And I don't necessarily think, personally, I like it better than the original, but I also think both songs are strong.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember Hole doing a cover version of Gold Dust Woman for the Crow 2 soundtrack back in the 90s.
Really?
Which is a Fleetwood Mac song originally.
Yeah.
And Hole's version of it, much more edgy, obviously it's Hole, but actually a really good version of it. Actually proves that Courtney Love did have ability to sing at different occasions.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, possibly not now. I haven't heard anything by Hole in a very long time.
Actually, Courtney Love was on about 7 years ago, 6 years ago maybe. Courtney Love was actually on a Fall Out Boy album. She was on
really?
Yeah. So was Elton John, interestingly enough.
Elton John was also on an Alice in Chains album more recently. It's about 10 years now.
That's interesting. Wouldn't surprise me, though.
He was, did you ever listen to Black Gives Way to Blue?
I don't think so.
Okay, so Black Gives Way to Blue was Alice in Chains' first album after they quit after Lane Staley died.
Was this with the first one with the new singer?
This is the first one with the new singer.
Okay.
And he was the guy who was touring with Jerry Cantrell for a while.
Okay.
But what ended up happening was Jerry Cantrell and everybody just quit for like 10 years or something like that.
I actually remember seeing Jerry Cantrell in concert when he was just being Jerry Cantrell directly after. Not directly, but shortly after Lane Staley had died. He was
pretty messed up at that time.
It was interestingly a Metallica concert.
He was going through a lot of crap.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he was. But I
think I remember talking to you about that. You were none too happy with how he was and how he was acting.
I don't remember. You'll have to refresh me later.
Oh, okay.
But it was actually a Metallica concert where Days of the New, if you remember them.
Oh, dude, Days of the New was great.
Days of the New was the first band. Then it was Jerry Cantrell.
Yeah.
And then it was Metallica. And I have never seen a crowd more angry at opening bands. For those who don't know, Days of the New's first album that they put out, and I think their second album as well, was entirely acoustic. No electric instruments. And so there
was something about it, though.
It
sounded good.
It was great. Their first song that came out was just amazing. But in fact, I even bought that album. I had that album for many years. But to have an acoustic-only band come on and then Jerry Cantrell playing that album he was kind of mellow. It was
a bit more mellow. He was right on the tail end of Lane.
I have never seen two bands get pelted with more bottles in my lifetime. The crowd was just crazy.
Does that still happen? Like, I'm curious. I don't hear about that anymore, but that was like one of the cornerstones of early 2000s concert going, like festivals, Ozfest and stuff. Dude,
the only
throwing
other time
bottles at the bands and the acts was like a constant. Crowds were douches, man.
Bottles have, for the most part, been restricted and or banned at many concerts now.
Okay, so that makes sense.
I can say a part of it has to do with where the concert is.
Okay.
And who the fans are.
Well, that makes sense.
For instance, as I've expressed before to you, and I may have even expressed before on this podcast, and it's an unpopular opinion, but anybody that I have ever gone to, or any show that I have ever gone to, where a former member of Pantera is playing in a band there, the fans that are out to see that band, because the person is a former member, and I'm mainly referring to the drummer.
Right. Well, I mean, that's not happening anymore.
No.
Rest in peace.
Okay.
Okay. It's not that guy's fault. It's like blaming Slipknot for their fans. It's not their fault.
I would rather Slipknot fans than former Pantera fans that were following Vinny around. Because they would go to the shows what was the other band? Hell Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the fans that were there for Hell Yeah, that were there because they were Pantera fans, were the worst fans I have ever encountered at any show, period. Rude, nasty, fighting all the time, pushing people out of the way and trampling and not even caring. Worst people I've ever dealt with for fans.
That's,
and literally...
We went off on a tangent.
Literally... Only a few concerts that I've gone to with that, but every time that band has been there for something, been in a concert for something, horrible fans. Absolutely horrible. I can't say that about any others.
I think I saw Hell Yeah once, and I'm one of those concert goers that watches from the back.
Depends on the band.
To watch the show. Actually,
I somewhat recently, you posted something on Facebook that was kind of a diagram of a music venue.
It's a small music venue, essentially.
And where the different fans are. And I found it amusing because it like identifies the people up at the front of the stage are teenagers. And then there's the, not really a mosh pit, but a push pit, which makes sense in the small venues.
Oh yeah, and totally. It's a clear floor where like 3 or 4 people stand.
And
then one person like likes the music and goes, but like just one arm pushes the person that's next to him for some reason.
And I found it a little bit troublesome to me because depending on the band that would play at the small shows, I was either a teenager because I like to be up right at the front of the stage, depending on the band. If it's a band whose songs I actually know, if it's a band I actually like, I like being up at the front of the stage. If it's a band I don't like, I don't get near the front of the stage. So for anybody that's ever seen me at a show, if I'm standing back far away from the stage while your band is playing, it's because I'm not really a fan of yours. If I'm standing right up at the stage, that's because I'm a fan of yours.
You know me, I don't care. I always go and I always check people out, whoever it is, but I'm not going to check it about. Here's the reason why I don't get directly up in front. Because you can't hear anything right. As a guy who does sound, I do live sounds for people that, I'm engineering the podcast and stuff, but I do live sound. Like, that's my thing. So I want to be able to hear the band. So what do? I hear it from a distance. Because when you build a sound system, it's for the people standing halfway into the venue, or where's the front of house? The front of house where the board is, where the person who's mixing the show, you know where the best spot to hear it? Right there at that booth. The best spot at like, it used to be Sac Valley Amphitheater, now it's like Sleep Train. The best spot at Sleep Train, right next to that sound booth. That's where the VIP seating is, because that's the best spot that you can hear everything.
That's great, no?
That's why I listen to it back in the over 25 crowd, because you don't want to get your head blasted off, but you want to hear what's happening.
Okay, it makes sense because you are a music professional. You're a professional.
Well, I wouldn't call me a professional.
Do you get paid?
Not to play, but I would say I'm a professional sound guy.
So
yeah.
But
that's
are a
part of my
professional.
job. Yeah.
I am a fan. When I go to a music thing, I go as a fan.
For the in-your-face experience.
You go as a professional. I go as a fan.
That. I can understand.
I want to be right there.
There is a very different experience between the two of us.
And I want to be right there in the person's face, mouthing the words back to them. So one, they see that there's somebody that's appreciating their music enough to have listened to it enough to know all the words. And two, when they do a show years after the band is already broken up, they can look at me when they forget the words so that they know what words to say next. Right, Mike?
I shouldn't have told you that.
Right? I'm just saying, at any point, you could have just given me the microphone and I would have sung the song. I knew it. Just saying.
Hey, calm down there, pal. It's okay.
But no, tell me though, the first time, if you can think back to the first time, I think it would have been at the Kennel Club, if you can remember the shows at the Kennel Club. That's a long time ago.
Those shows were super stressing.
Can you remember the first time you had somebody in the audience singing the songs? Right there, standing at the front of the stage, singing the songs back to you or singing along with you.
The first time? No. Well, not necessarily. It's still cool every time it happens.
I can say,
regardless of who it is.
I can say that our announcer guy, the guy who does our intro announcing, and your former guitarist in Prilosis, Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Who we love. And we can say his name because he's given us permission. We love you, Mr. Scott.
We love you, buddy.
That was one of the things after the first Kennel Club show we went to see you at. Yeah. That was one of the things he said to me was like, dude, it was so awesome seeing you there singing the song with us. Hell yeah. That's how you really.
No, I always love that experience. Don't get me wrong. I can't remember the first time it happened, probably because I may have gotten drunk. And now, not to say that I was drunk on stage. I wasn't drunk on stage, but things become a blur depending, you know.
Well, it doesn't.
You don't remember everything while you're sober if you get drunk later in the night. Yeah, sometimes that happens. My memory already sucks as it is. Well, but that being said, I do like the experience. I'm not trying to backtrack or anything.
No, I get it.
But yeah, I obviously like that. That's cool every time. I look forward to you being at those shows for that reason. Like I feel bad when I don't see you at those shows because I know I'm going to see that happen every time. I feel bad that
we don't have those shows, but that's a whole different story.
Well, you know, that's not.
I don't know. I don't know all the words to the other stuff, so I'm still working. It's
not going to happen on a regular basis anymore. Okay.
Well, at some point, you will at least hopefully help me fulfill one dream,
and that is
be able to get up on stage and sing along with one of the songs. Actually, sing along with one of them. That would be a dream come true.
That would be fun.
I mean, not just for you guys. I mean, I would like to do it for, you know, Metallica, Volbeat, Tool even. That would be real fun.
Well, you know that's never happening.
No, that would never happen. The other ones are possibly
that guy, Maynard kicks the ass of anybody who goes on stage.
Yeah. Well, and I almost did it this time.
He just bumped the table with his leg and my coffee almost went over.
Almost. He caught it in time. But anyway, back to the original discussion. Actually, we'll take a break here and come back and have more of the original discussion. Yeah, I was going to say,
we need to get back to the root of the conversation.
The original discussion was cover songs. We will take a break right now. We will come back with actual real cover song discussion. This is why I wanted to record this, because you never know what'll happen.
Yeah, I like it. We're doing stuff completely out of nowhere today. It's great.
It's wonderful. We'll be back in a minute.
Hey friends, this is Mike from the Xennial Chronicles reminding you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Xencron, spelled XENCHRON, to keep up to date on all things TXC. And please check out our official website, theXennialChronicles.com, or if that's too much to type, Zencron.com. Thanks again for listening, and now, back to the show.
And we are back. And during our little break, we actually did some research so that we would have some actual cover songs that we could talk about. Yes, we researched. We actually did stuff.
We actually, used that short break of 20 seconds or whatever it was to make some stuff happen.
It was a little longer than that, but guess what? We know how to manipulate time.
No. Now we're going to actually be able to really go over this list without tangenting off too much, or at least we hope so.
Yeah, that will never happen. When will we not tangent?
That's part of the entertainment, right? It's why you listen to us. You want to make sure that when we announce we're going to say something, we're going to completely forget about it for 15 minutes and then try to come back and forget about it again. That's like our thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it works that way. Okay, so we made a list of some cover songs that are, I think, some pretty recognizable ones. At least mine are recognizable. Mike said he was going for some deep cut stuff.
There's a couple of deep cuts. I mean, there's some depending on who we're talking about here. And I've listened to some classic stuff, some really classic stuff. A lot of stuff, most of mine come out during the 90s or the early aughts.
Well, and some of these that'll be interesting to listen to. You don't realize that the version you're familiar with is actually a cover version of the song.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. So do you do one and I do one? Can we
can do that,
and then we'll check off as depending on who says what, because I know we wrote some of the same songs, and I have a pretty large list here.
Go ahead. What you got as the first on your list?
The first one on my list was "Hurt" by Johnny Cash. That's a really popular one. A lot of people know about that, but there's people that mistake that that's the original, and it is absolutely not.
It's originally by 9 Inch Nails.
Yes, and it sounds extremely different. Yes.
9 Inch Nails version is very, I mean, the Johnny Cash version is kind of dark and depressing, but at least has some hopefulness in it, I guess.
No, I wouldn't necessarily consider it hopefulness. What it is he transfers the key to what I like to consider as a more conventional key. Like he's using real, traditional minor key in order to make the progression of the song work. Part of what Trent does in his original version is he uses a lot of I can't find the musical term in my head, but a couple of he uses choices of notes that juxtapose against each other to create a really strange,
a dissonant harmony.
That's what it is, a dissonant harmony. Thank you.
All right, fantastic.
So he uses,
I had some music knowledge.
Yeah,
Yay!
Very well done. Yeah, he uses dissonant harmony. He has a lot of use of it.
Yeah.
Because it creates a tension that's unusual and uncomfortable on purpose.
Yeah, his version of the song, definitely uncomfortable, is a very good way to describe it. It makes you feel like you're in an eerie, otherworldly situation from it, whereas Cash's version is more accessible to people. And especially the video that accompanied it is very much kind of a... it was done near the end of his life, very much near the end of his life.
Yeah,
and it's kind of a culmination of the things that he did. Because let's face it, for those who have or have not seen the Johnny Cash biopic with Joaquin Phoenix in it, Johnny Cash wasn't always necessarily the best human being.
No.
He had a lot of faults as a human being, and sadly they were very public faults. For him. And, he had a very rough life, mainly caused by the decisions that he made.
Yes.
But still, as a result, a song with that kind of gravitas works for kind of an end-of-life song, kind of an acknowledgement of where he had gone in his life, the kind of struggles, and, again, the culmination of it.
Yeah.
And I think for a time afterwards, Trent Reznor was in awe of Cash's treatment of the song and didn't play it for a little while afterwards because he felt like Cash's version was kind of its own entity beyond what Trent had done. Now,
he had been very aware of the fact that Johnny Cash basically had owned that song in its current format, and he knew that there would be this... He wasn't refusing to do it for the sake of public image.
No,
that's for sure. But it was out of respect. Yeah. He saw that and he went, "Dude, I'm not playing this for a while. I got to let Johnny have this."
Yeah, because and that I think is a real theme of a really good cover song is when it takes on its own life.
Yeah.
To the point of, like, again, some of these on the list, I do have what I think is the biggest cover song ever on my list.
Okay.
And I'm going to have the unpopular opinion about that song when it comes up.
Oh, okay.
I expect to have the unpopular opinion.
All right.
But anyway, so my turn, Yen?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. First one I had on my list was one I know is on your list, All Along the Watchtower.
Yes.
And originally a Bob Dylan song.
Yes.
And
there's a lot of Dylan songs that have been covered.
Well, most famously done by Jimi Hendrix. If you watch any movie that has anything to do with the Vietnam War, you're going to hear All Along the Watchtower, Jimi Hendrix's version, most likely.
Absolutely.
And I feel Jimmy really encapsulated the true feeling of the song. I won't listen to Bob Dylan's version. Jimmy's version, I'm not a huge Hendrix fan, as many people are. Yeah. I do like some of his stuff, and that's one of those songs that's like, yep, that's a hell of a song right there.
Yeah.
It's the version of it is just fantastic.
Yeah, I personally like knowing his songwriting. I'll listen to Dylan, but he's kind of like, as a performer, he's an acquired taste. You know what I mean? Oh no, that's young Dylan. Now It's just like, hey,
that's really good.
Oh, thank you.
two different versions of Bob Dylan for you people.
Yep. That's current day Bob Dylan.
But yeah, I think again, Jimmy really hit that song and made it something that was listenable to, because the version by Bob Dylan is really, really slow. Really slow, whereas Jimmy's has some energy to it.
It does. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot of exploration to it. It's actually very much a testament to when the Jimi Hendrix Experience did it. It's a testament to what Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Kramer, as an engineer, as somebody who listens to it.
Yeah.
All of that trippy stuff that people were doing in the 80s, 90s with their stuff, it wasn't automatic then. You had to manually do that stuff. You would record the raw tracks, and then a team of engineers would be all over that board, twisting knobs and moving stuff and doing a final recording of the performance after they rehearsed what to do with the faders and knobs to make it sound like that.
Wow.
So that in itself is, you're listening to a performance of a band and you're listening to a performance of engineers at the same time.
That's some good behind the scenes stuff.
That's insane. All right.
That's crazy. So, next one on your list, sir.
Next one on my list is The Man Who Sold the World by Nirvana. Now, I know a lot of people are... Nirvana is definitely one of those bands that's controversial because they don't necessarily have a...
talent?
That's the problem. A lot of people think...
There's my bad opinion, although...
Oh, right.
That's one of them. That's not the real big...
Well, here's the thing. Nirvana is very argued to be essentially a no-talent band by a lot of people. That there's a lot of naysayers to Nirvana, but when you actually listen to the stuff, if you've ever listened to the individualized tracks, Their musicianship is ridiculous.
Well, and again, we did lose the ability due to Shotgun to really know what more could have come from the band. I mean, if you look at
face palming right now over that.
If you look at the one member of the band that actually still makes music, he is still constantly making music and doing an amazing job making music. His band does some really great things. Plus, for all intents and purposes, he seems like the coolest guy in music, period.
Oh, totally. And he did a lot as well, but he wasn't just the glue that held that band together.
Well, no, I'm just saying if you just take the one member who actually still plays music, because Novoselic is involved in politics. He
may have retired now from politics.
But he doesn't.
He got back into music. I think he started another group with Dave relatively recently.
I didn't know about that.
I mean, hell, Dave, Pat, and Chris actually got together with Paul McCartney and did a thing, and it was billed as Paul McCartney with Nirvana.
Well, and
a few years ago.
The thing is, when you look again at the one person in the band, Dave Grohl, who has continued to make music nonstop since then, the stuff that he's been able to do, it does make you question what evolution would we have seen of Kurt Cobain if he had lived past the age of 27.
Absolutely.
So you don't know, but so you're continuing your love of Nirvana's unplugged version of Man Who Sold the World.
Absolutely.
I am a Bowie fan.
Yeah.
But that is a very good version of the song.
It is, and you, again, those are two different versions that are completely different from each other.
Yeah,
I would consider.
Very much.
I've seen Bowie do multiple different versions of that song and blow the roof off the place every time he does one.
Yeah.
But I like
Bowie's
what Nirvana
Bowie.
did. Right. Bowie was Bowie.
Bowie was Bowie.
Yeah. I liked what Nirvana did with it because they took it and that is a live performance as well. That was done during the Unplugged session. So
the MTV Unplugged stuff.
Yeah.
It's a good performance of it. Okay. This one's interesting. The song "Come Together," because it's been covered multiple times.
Yes.
It's a Beatles song originally.
Yep.
It's been covered by Michael Jackson.
Yes, I've heard that one.
It's been covered by Aerosmith.
Moonwalker, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
That movie that Aerosmith did that song in, that is like one of the best parts of that movie.
Which movie are you talking about?
Sgt. Pepper. Aerosmith is the band Aerosmith is the evil band at the end of the film. That's where their version of Come Together comes from.
Really?
Oh, yeah, dude, there's covers by fantastic artists throughout that whole movie.
I mean, I've only seen the beginning of the movie, and I found it amusing that it's the Bee Gees in the beginning of the movie. But I didn't watch the entire movie because, as believe I've professed on here before, but I will profess yet again, I am not really a big Beatles fan.
I can understand that.
I get a lot of hate for that, but I'm not really a big Beatles fan. To me, that's one of those moments. If you remember from the movie Pulp Fiction, there's the whole conversation. It's either in the original version or in the extended scenes. There's a whole conversation of whether you're a Beatles man or an Elvis man.
Yeah,
I disagree with that. I think the conversation should be: are you a Beatles man or are you a Beach Boys man? Because the real people that were doing the same kind of weird stuff in the studio at the same time were the Beach Boys, not Elvis. Elvis was just singing songs that other people wrote for him and getting his name put on the songs. The people that were actually being real creative in the studio at the same time as the Beatles were being creative in the studio and making all the advances would have been the Beach Boys.
No, I can understand that. I can understand that. There was,
there
were a lot of rivalries. There was, are you Beatles or Beach Boys?
Yeah.
Another one is, are you Beatles or the Rolling Stones? That was a big one too.
I could see that. The
Rolling Stones billed themselves as the anti-Beatles for a while.
Which I understand. To me, though, when you're talking about the people like to rest on the musical innovation and like to rest on the albums, not just songs, not just singles, but the actual albums. People tout the White Album or Abbey Road as like big albums for the Beatles.
Yeah,
like transcendent albums. And to me, they don't equal up to Pet Sounds. And that's just again, that's a personal feeling of me. I also grew up listening to more Beach Boys than I did.
Sgt. Pepper came out before Pet Sounds.
It might have, yes.
And Pet Sounds was fantastic in its own right, especially being that the musicians were, I believe it's the musicians were 2-tracked, and then I think Pet Sounds was done on an 8-track machine, if I'm not mistaken.
Unsure. I just know that my experience probably growing up was more Beach Boys sound than it was Beatles sound. I think
can
that's
understand.
Probably why.
Dude, Pet Sounds is a fantastic album.
It is.
Absolutely fantastic. But I will tell you this. as far as a technical aspect of it, go back and listen to Sgt. Pepper again. That crap was done on a 4-track machine.
I mean, that's great and all, but
2 4-track tape machines. That's nuts.
That's great from the technical aspect, but what it comes down to is if I'm to play Sgt. Pepper and then play Pet Sounds, the one I'm singing along with is Pet Sounds.
I can understand
and that's just that, and that to me is where, again, you're looking at it from a technical side. I'm looking at it as from a fan side of I want to enjoy this.
Yeah.
But anyway, come together.
Okay.
Multiple versions of it, and I think every version of it kind of has its own thing and holds up well. It's actually, again, this is giving credit to the Beatles in this. It's a well-written song, put together song. Each version is kind of its own thing, and each version sounds good.
Uh-huh.
Your next song, sir.
Okay, so I've got a few of them here. I've got a lot of the more classic stuff.
Yeah.
As far as, but I think I'm going to take it in a direction where there is more of a, I don't know. I like covers that throw people on their head.
Okay.
Let's see here. Out of my No Quarter by Tool.
That's a Zeppelin cover, isn't it?
That is originally a Led Zeppelin cover. The version of No Quarter sounded like, now I know that you recognize it. Now Zeppelin themselves, and I say this as a Zeppelin fan, to straight up just call Zeppelin out as nothing but thieves for their entire career, I think it's too much. I know people that hate bands for one small thing that they did. Stop doing that.
Like I literally did 20 minutes ago to you?
Yes. And I'm calling you out right now because...
Call me out. Go ahead.
Yeah. The issue is that they did not steal their entirety of their material. They did not... In a song like No Quarter was unlike anything else that was being heard at the time, and it was purely original. There was nothing else that was done at the time.
Do you want me to tell you something?
Wait. Okay. Okay. Yeah. What?
I don't even know what that song is.
Oh. Then I will play you that version, and then I will also play you the Tool version.
Okay.
The Tool version, I say this as a Zeppelin fan, blew my friggin' mind.
Okay.
When it came out. I remember hearing it on the radio in the middle of the day. Pat Martin played it. I'm up in Sacramento. Pat, if you ever hear this, thank you, because that was fantastic.
Thumbs up to Pat Martin.
Yeah, thumbs up to Pat Martin. Dude, that song blew my... I stopped in the car and left it running in a parking lot. I think I was going to school at Yuba College. And I listened to that whole thing, and it was like 8 minutes long. And it was fantastic.
So this is around the time that Tool... Was it Tool?
It was Tool that covered it.
Tool. Okay.
It wasn't Pussifer. It wasn't any of Maynard's other projects. It was definitely Tool. It was fantastic.
I was having a moment because A Perfect Circle put out a cover album at one point where they took almost all the songs they did and did them in like minor keys, and it was really they were all songs on major keys.
They covered John Lennon on that one. They covered Imagine, didn't they?
Their Imagine cover is
that's a good one.
Well, it's Imagine as itself is a really upbeat kind of hopeful song, very hopeful.
Oh, and they transposed it to minor key and changed the whole thing.
It literally sounds like exactly how, in my mind, exactly how hardcore right-wing people heard Imagine back when it came out and saw it as basically the Communist Manifesto.
Yeah. When
you hear Perfect Circle's version, it does sound like the dreary Communist Manifesto. It's scary.
Oh yeah.
But anyway. So okay, you'll have to have me listen to this No Quarter, because again, I don't know enough Led Zeppelin to know the song.
I'll play it for you after the podcast. It's fantastic. I'll play you an example of the original one so that you get an idea of what it sounds like. It's great. Tool blows it out. I can't say one is better than the other, but it's definitely a completely different ride.
I will probably like the Tool version better just because I like Tool as a band.
Yeah, totally.
But literally the only Zeppelin songs that I really know are Stairway, because everybody knows Stairway. A Whole Lot of Love. Dazed and Confused.
Okay.
And that song that goes on for frickin' ever.
And it's not Stairway to Heaven?
Cashmere.
Oh, Cashmere.
You can change. Cashmere can start. You can change the radio station. Listen to 3 other songs on another station. Go back to it, and Cashmere is still on.
Oh, it's like 15 minutes or something stupid.
I absolutely
cannot, or at least it feels like it.
Song. Interestingly, every time I hear that song on the radio, my son says, "Oh, Godzilla." So I'm proud of him for that, because it was sampled by Puff Daddy in Godzilla 1995, the Matthew Broderick one.
Yeah, Jimmy Page was on that track too.
Jimmy Page actually does it. Yeah,
that's cool.
But anyway, okay, so I had this
Your
one.
turn.
I had this one, but I'm gonna pull it because it was the one Miley Cyrus song we talked about. But I'm gonna pull it.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna pull it. Here's one that's big for me. Higher Ground. The
Chili Peppers
version.
covering Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
That's good.
It's a really good version. Actually, accompanies one of my favorite movie sequences in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie that had the TV show cast, the American TV show cast.
Yeah.
It opens with them doing a skydiving sequence, and Chili Peppers' Higher Ground is playing over it.
Cool.
And the energy on that song, Flea is going crazy playing that song. And
Flea with the wah pedal.
And
It's sick. It's like I think he took over for the Fender Rhodes sound on that was unmistakable in the original. They blew that song up.
Yeah, it's just huge. And I mean, Stevie Wonder's version is great, but the Chili Peppers somehow or another get more groove into the song than what Stevie Wonder had in the song.
Yeah,
and
totally.
it is just groovy. You just want to move when you hear that song.
Yeah, I can attest to that. Totally. Okay, let's see. What have I got? Oh, here's one that turns things on its head. And I'm not sure if this is the proper name. So Tears for Fears, Mad World was the original.
Now hold on a second.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Are you doing this just because it's a song you cover?
No.
Okay. Because you do cover it.
We do, and we do it completely different from this one.
Okay.
This is the one that's on, I think it's on the Donnie Darko soundtrack.
It's the really slow
The somber version of Mad
version.
World that really pulls it back and just makes it sound completely different. Because here's the thing, man.
And
Mad World is a hit from Tears for Fears, and I've heard the original, and I never heard the original when I did the Prylosis cover, the original Prylosis cover.
Yeah. You based the cover on the one from Donnie Darko.
Off of, I think it's Michael Andrews is the name of the guy.
I believe that's correct.
So, the Michael Andrews version of Bad World is what we based it on, and we were like, "This is a great song." We never knew it was originally a Tears for Fears song. I went and listened to it like 4 or 5 years after we did the cover of it, and the original one is like super clunky it's too upbeat for my taste personally. I thought the original Mad World is like you listen to it and you stop breathing when you listen to it. You just hear it. Right.
And actually, do you remember being at a house party, you and me, being at a house party, one of those back in the day when we'd have guitars everywhere with us. Yeah. Do you remember sitting and playing that song at a house party?
I think so. Yeah.
We did that, and we attempted to do also with our announcer friend Scott. We attempted to do a version of "Stairway to Heaven," which was hilarious because none of us could remember the damn words. So there's so many different verses in that like we were getting verses confused.
That's funny.
We couldn't figure out which order the verses we're supposed to go in, and that was hilarious. But anyway, okay, that slow somber version that's in Donnie Darko is definitely a version that has a whole different feel to the song and gives a whole different world aspect to it. It's a nice version, and you're right. The Tears for Fears is a little bit clunky, but you need that to have done the other one. Oh, I see a look on your face. You've come with another idea. Hopefully we get to it.
Yeah.
I have a few I want to throw out in some quick succession, just because these are ones that I think are songs that people don't know that other people did these songs beforehand.
Okay.
For instance, UB40's Red Red Wine.
That was a cover?
That is a cover.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Man, I can't stand that song.
You can't?
No, I am not a fan of it.
I love that song.
UB40 is one of those bands. Okay.
Actually, I like their version of, I even like their version of the Elvis song that they did for Sliver.
Okay, that was cool. Can't Help Falling in Love?
Yes. I like Elvis's version because I like Elvis, and shout out to my dad and Sheila for that song, because that song is what we had played for them at their wedding.
Cool, man.
That's kind of their song.
Yeah.
So shout out to them if they're listening. Apparently they've started listening. Hi, Dad. Hi, Sheila. In fact, didn't somebody in your family just recently start listening? I thought so.
My parents have been listening
since
have been. We about started. Yeah.
Well, shout out to Mike's parents too then. But anyway, Red Red Wine is actually, I believe, a Neil Diamond song.
Really?
I believe so.
I got to look that up. I didn't know that. Yeah, UB40 was one of my. UB40 is not one of my favorite bands, bro. Like, I'm normally pretty open minded, but aren't they British?
They're either British or Canadian. I'm not sure.
Okay, so here's the problem that I have with like one of my major issues is cultural appropriation.
So you don't
in
like
music.
Snow,
huh?
You don't like Snow.
Snow.
Informa.
Oh Lord, no.
Because
now don't get me wrong. That song is that. Don't get me wrong. That song is catchy. The problem with that song is the fact that what the hell were they thinking to think that was a?
I lick your boom boom down. What is that? Do we have to edit that?
I don't know.
I have to edit that. I don't know.
I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it at that. It came out on the radio in the '90s, back when everybody was still trying to censor everything. Dude, that is a messed up.
Also, not a cover song. Not a cover song. Informer is not a cover song.
Did you ever see? Okay, so when In Living Color was out,
yes, Jim Carrey's version.
Version of it is fantastic.
It's hilarious.
That encompasses. If you ever see if you look up Jim Carrey Informer on YouTube or something, you'll probably find it, and it's the parody music video of Snow's Informer, and it gives every reason why I don't like that song.
Interestingly, Jim Carrey at the same time on the same show did a version of Ice Ice Baby, Vanilla Ice.
Oh man, that was good too.
You remember that one?
Yes.
Okay, so the next one that's like that, like Red Red Wine, Killing Me Softly. Now, most people of our generation are going to think Fugees. Right,
but it wasn't them that originally did it. I can't remember, but I do know who the song's about.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Because I believe it's Roberta Flack. I'm not positive, but I believe that's who it is.
Okay.
Who's the song about?
Don McLean.
Correct.
He stopped for me. He's like, damn it. He was right.
Which is really funny because Don McLean is best known for the song American Pie.
American Pie, yeah.
Which is really the only song he's really known for.
And actually, that's what the song Killing Me Softly is about, him singing the song American Pie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is about the death of Richie Valens and Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper. Mainly Buddy Holly more than anything else.
Yeah, but he was the main megastar. But yeah, that's the name of the plane was American Pie that went down.
This is just, Inception, music Inception.
I love it. I love that kind of stuff. That's the thing. It's about art imitating life, imitating art. I think it's fantastic.
And then here's the big one for people. I know at least I hope you know who the original band is. Another shout out to my dad on this one. Proud Mary. Now, who's it known for?
Well, there's Ike and Tina did Proud Mary.
Yes,
that just blew it out. But I thought originally it was Fogerty, CCR.
Yes, it is a CCR song.
You know who else I didn't realize wrote originally? Another CCR throwback here. He wrote I Put a Spell on You. I thought that was a more traditional song. He wrote it.
Fogerty did?
Yes.
I'm going to have to look into that.
Yeah. The covers of I Put a Spell on You are all over the place, and they're fantastic. Every one of them I like.
I've heard various covers.
Marilyn Manson, the version that's in oh my goodness, Disney movie, Bette Midler.
That's
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Thank you. Hocus Pocus is the movie.
Hocus Pocus, thank you.
I was hoping you'd mention that because that's actually my favorite version is Bette Midler's version.
Oh, dude, that's good, but.
I love that movie.
Dude, I gotta find. There's a few of them. Like, there's a version of. I work at a retailer that has a somewhat eclectic playlist, especially around Halloween.
Yeah.
And when I mean eclectic, I mean they're actually playing like White Zombie. They're playing Nightmare on My Street by Will Smith. They're playing like all this crazy eclectic stuff. There's a version of I Put a Spell on You that they do.
Yeah.
And they will play the Marilyn Manson version.
Yeah.
But they also play another. Dude, they play the theme to Tales from the Crypt and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, great playlist that they use. But there's a version of I Put a Spell on You that is just. It's older. I want to say it's a 60s, maybe 70s version.
No, I know which one you're talking about. I can't think of the name of the person.
And the guy's like maniacally laughing, and he sounds humongous. It's great, and I can't remember the name of the guy. We'll have to go back to it.
Neither can I. We'll put it in comments or something on Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the ones that are like, to me, ones that people don't realize were other people's songs beforehand. Let's get a few more off your list, and then there's the big one I want to talk about, and then two bands I want to talk about. So what more do you have on your list? Pick out the ones that you think are some of the biggest ones. Say 2 or 3.
Okay, 2 or 3. Let's see.
Just for the sake of time.
Boys of Summer by the Ataris, which is one that's like the only hit they ever had.
Not a bad version of the... oh God, what's his name?
I think their original that they tried to come out with as a single that wasn't as good was In This Diary, I think.
But the original artist,
Henley,
right?
Boys of Summer, Don Henley.
Henley, yeah.
Yeah, Don Henley. And
the drummer for the Eagles for many years.
Yes.
And then went out on his own.
Yep. Boys of Summer, their version it's really cool.
Yeah, it's a good updated version of
post-punk kind of, post-punk kind of version. I always thought that was cool. House of Rising Sun by the Animals. This is way back. That is a cover of a traditional, I believe it's a prison song.
And House of the Rising Sun's going to come up in the two bands that I'm talking about.
Cool.
Because one of the bands covers it.
Here's another one for you that was a cover that I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Black Betty.
We won't talk about that song, but yeah. That is a cover.
Yeah.
Ram Jam's version
Ram Jam's version of Black Betty is a cover.
Yes.
And it is, I don't think that you can trace it. I think it's public domain. It's so old.
Yeah.
Which I always thought was cool. Let's see.
That's a very racist song. So.
Whiskey in the Jar by Thin Lizzy, who
was
the
most
originally recorded version that I know of is one by the Dubliners.
Okay.
But it is a traditional Irish drinking song. It's been around forever.
And Metallica covered it at one point.
Blinded by the Light by Manfred Mann, which is a cover of Springsteen.
Okay.
And I'm going to transition covers of Springsteen with another one. Rage Against the Machine covered The Ghost of Tom Joad.
Yes.
That I really like. That one's
The Ghost of Tom Joad
ominous.
It is a very interesting version. It's a haunting version of that song.
Another one that I really like that Rage Against the Machine did, which if you've ever heard the original Bob Dylan version of Maggie's Farm.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going with the other Rage cover.
There's a few Rage covers they've done, like Cypress Hill, How I Could Just Kill a Man. Oh, they released a covers album. Their fourth album was a covers album. Had a lot of stuff on it, but I like
Renegades
the deep cuts.
Funk.
Renegades of Funk.
I love that song.
That's a good one. My favorite version is Rage Against the Machine covered Maggie's Farm.
I'm unfamiliar with Maggie's Farm as a song.
It sounds very like upbeat country-esque when Bob Dylan did it.
Okay.
Very boom chuck kind of.
Yeah.
And they turned it into like this militant anthem. It's fantastic.
Not surprising.
And it's literally about slavery, like about emancipation. Like
okay.
Black
Makes
emancipation. But my favorite one of these that it just hit me, Rusty Cage by Johnny Cash.
Oh, the Soundgarden version.
The original Soundgarden version is great.
Yeah.
It is the original. Johnny Cash covered Rusty Cage. This is actually one of my favorite stories. Johnny Cash covered Rusty Cage. Rick Rubin was the producer on it in the 90s.
Okay.
In the mid-90s. And the band that's playing with him, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, is on that track.
Nice.
Actually, what happened was Rick Rubin was in a place it's no longer around, called Sound City Studios in the 90s. Was responsible for a ton of major albums.
Dave Grohl actually
did over the course of like 30, 40 years. Yes.
Yeah, Dave Grohl did a whole documentary on Sound City.
Yeah, they actually, Metallica recorded Death Magnetic at Sound City.
Oh, okay.
But one of there was a bunch of artists, but Johnny Cash came in as Tom Petty was finishing his album that had Refugee on it. I think he was working in the studio.
Okay.
That had Refugee on it. Johnny Cash comes in and he hears the band. He's like, "You guys want to play on my stuff?" And they're like,
"Yeah,
duh, yeah." So Rick's behind the helm and he does like a couple of covers and some original stuff back in the 90s. And that cover of Rusty Cage is so good. It's just super stripped down.
Can we call Rick Rubin musical Gandalf? Is that appropriate?
Yes, depending, because some of his more recent choices are something that some stuff that I necessarily don't agree with.
I'm just speaking of the beard. I'm speaking of the beard.
Oh yeah, musical Gandalf.
Yeah,
totally. We can call him that.
Yeah,
yeah. Some of his musical choices, as far as production, I didn't completely fully side with, but I do understand a lot of. He's a non-musical listener, so he's not a musician. But he hears things as far as balance as a consumer and goes, you know what would be kind of cool if we did something like this? And he always just has these weird, insane ideas. But the guy has been responsible for Linkin Park, for Korn, for Slayer.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, actually.
Red Hot Chili Peppers,
actually,
yes.
That's one of the better stories
Some of their
about
best
Red Hot.
albums done in the 90s was Rick.
Under the Bridge. It was Rick's idea to bring in Anthony's mom and her choir group to sing the
That's
backing
his
vocals.
mother's choir group?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
They sing the backing vocals for Under the Bridge.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of neat stuff.
All right.
Okay, so here's the two bands. Let's talk about these two bands. There's two recent bands that have done a lot of covers. The band Disturbed has done almost one cover song per album.
Yeah, that's kind of their thing.
Specifically, they've done Shout.
Shout was the one that they did in 2000.
That was like their first album.
Yeah.
Land of Confusion,
which is cool.
And then most recently and most, I would say, well known is their cover of Sound of Silence. And this actually has it's a very polarizing cover. Because there are a lot of people that either love their cover or they hate their cover because they like the original Simon and Garfunkel version.
Yeah, that's one of those.
What's your feelings on that song?
I'm not exactly. You know what? When it comes on the radio, now that it's gone past its "Hey, we're trying to push this" kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. When it comes on the radio, because I kind of avoided the radio for a long time. When I hear it, I listen to it.
Okay,
I actually stop and listen to it because there's so much going on. It's very well put together. That's nice. I could tell that it's very much a studio cut, I guess. Yeah. And I've seen him do it live. And actually, my favorite version of it is the live version he does with Miles Kennedy.
Whoa, I've not seen a version.
Oh, dude, I'll show you that.
Because I love Miles Kennedy.
That is good.
All the stuff with Miles Kennedy and Slash now, it's like for somebody like me who almost was a Guns N' Roses fan and then refused to be a Guns N' Roses fan and now respects Guns N' Roses for what little they were able to accomplish back in their heyday before drugs made that impossible and stupidity made that impossible. When I hear Slash and Miles Kennedy, I'm like, this is what Guns N' Roses could have been if somebody wasn't a complete a-hole.
I can understand that.
And that's really, well, except for the fact that at this point, Miles still sings better than the a-hole ever sang, sadly, ever.
I will say this. The fact that I mean, we might as well name him. And yeah, he was a total jerk, and he really tried to mess up with the band in many instances that are recorded.
Yeah.
But that being said,
then there's the whole Metallica
brought himself
situation.
around. Oh yeah, there's that too.
The concert, but yeah.
But Axl Rose has kind of brought himself around a bit, and the fact that they were able to, like, he did the filling in for AC/DC, which I thought was noble.
That was kind of cool. Yes.
The guy, just like what I like the fact that Dave Grohl finished a tour with a broken leg and created a Game of Thrones throne made of guitars.
Yeah.
And then Axl's like, hey, can I borrow that? Because I just broke my leg, but I just started a tour with AC/DC. And Dave's like, hell yeah, dude, here, take it.
I didn't know that story, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so Axl Rose did an entire tour with a broken leg.
I knew he was sitting for part of the tour.
Yeah,
I didn't know he was in that. He
broke his leg, so I thought that was cool. You know, he lost all the extra weight. Well, he's no longer a real parody of himself. He can still sing, so I'm happy with that.
He can still sing to an extent. He cannot hit the notes he used to.
Well, you're right. He's not 20. He's 50. But
true.
Still.
But Miles can still hit those notes, though, because he's taking care of himself in better ways.
Isn't he quite a bit younger than Axl as
well?
Not still?
A little bit younger, but the major difference is Miles does not smoke, Miles does not drink, Miles does not do drugs.
Well, that'll do it. That'll help you. If you stay conditioned, you keep going, man.
Miles is known for being a complete professional when he comes into the studio. And what you have to think is, what I find most amusing about him is he stepped in and played with a good portion of Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
And
nailed it at the Hall of Fame, by the way.
Sounded amazing.
Yeah.
And then he stepped in with the entirety of the band Creed and nailed it for 6 albums.
Dude,
because Creed finally had a decent singer.
Yeah. Dude, you could argue that all day long. And
Alter Bridge is amazing.
Alter Bridge is fantastic.
And me being a WWE fan, when the wrestler Edge would come on, it's an Alter Bridge song, and that was the best part was hearing the Alter Bridge song come in because it's the song Metalingus.
Oh, cool! Yes. There was that one off the first album.
Metalingus is Edge's.
That's a good song.
Or was Edge's entrance music, and so
that's cool.
It would hit with that drum fill, and then boom.
Okay, so we were talking about Disturbed a second ago.
back to Disturbed. The sound that we're torn on the Sound of Silence because Sound of Silence, I actually love their version. Okay, but I think the reason I love it so much is it's a version for this time period. Where when the Simon and Garfunkel version came out, there was I think the U.S. was feeling more hopeful. There was a more hopeful feeling in the country overall.
Okay,
I think kind of the more concern about the direction of things in our country.
All right.
The more somber tone that we have in general, I think the version that Disturbed does fits that a little more.
Okay, I could see that. That makes a lot of sense.
But then we have the other band who's done a lot of covers. a band called Five Finger Death Punch.
Okay.
Which we can probably go in and talk about our opinions on Five Finger Death Punch at another time. But we're just focusing right now on their cover songs. And the ones that stand out the most, House of the Rising Sun, which you mentioned before, being a cover and being covered multiple times. In fact, a band that I actually auditioned to be in at one point, that's one of their covers, is House of the Rising Sun.
Oh, cool. The Five Finger Death Punch version?
No,
or the Animals version?
The Animals version.
Cool.
They've also most recently done, they did Bad Company as one of their first covers, which actually is a very good version of Bad Company.
You know what? What's really funny is that was the one that turned me off to them. When I first heard it, I was like, you got to be kidding me.
I think it's better than the original version of the song, but that's my opinion.
Personally don't. Like,
that's okay.
I get it. But there's a lot that I hear in the original track that, and this is one thing that a lot of people, I think need to, this is one thing a lot of people need to understand. Like, for me personally, it doesn't mean that something is necessarily good or bad.
Yeah.
Personal preference is personal preference, but I also think that
I think
you're looking at it in the wrong direction personally if you're thinking that original version of a song just sounds quote unquote old and you can't put your finger on why you don't like it, or a cover of a song is just new and I get what you're saying. You take the soul out of it or all this kind of stuff, or it's overproduced. Or I can understand not liking it, but to judge an entire musical entity based on one thing that they do, I don't think is right. I personally don't think is right. And now, if you look at an entire band, if you hear that one thing, and you've never listened to anything else by that band, and you claim that band sucks, you are wrong. Not because maybe that band does suck. Who knows?
Yeah, well,
but you're wrong because you haven't given them a proper chance. You just hate them for something that they covered that you like.
Yeah, that's not necessarily. Although I can say that sometimes all it takes is a cover song to be heard by a band for you to fall in love with a band.
True.
We were both at a concert December 8th, 2008.
Yeah.
We were at a concert and a opening band came on and played a cover song.
Yeah.
And we, me. Again, our announcer, Scott, and my wife, Sarah, immediately fell in love with the band.
Yes.
My wife, Sarah, and I, probably more so than you and Scott.
Scott would constantly, I was roommates with Scott for some time, and he would constantly throw his phone in the truck and play Volbeat on YouTube all the time.
Volbeat
find
is
them somehow.
Amazing.
Playlist stuff, dude. Volbeat's fantastic.
We were introduced to them by hearing them do a cover song opening for Metallica. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's enough to hear their version of a cover song and say, okay, we like what they've done with this song. We like their take on it. We like their aesthetic that they're bringing to it. Well, and Five Finger Death Punch, another one that they did was Gone Away, the Offspring song.
Yeah.
Which is difficult for me because I am a big Offspring fan.
Yeah.
I like the version in the sense that it's easier for me to sing along with than the Offspring version because Dexter Holland sings in a key that I just can't match. He's just way too high for me.
He's doing a lot of it in head voice, but I think that's
still too high for me to
I know a lot of people that don't like that original version because they think it sounds whiny. But have you listened to the song? It's really, really messed up.
It's a sad
it's written to
song.
Be like that. And
it really
it's funny because the Offspring version is extremely upbeat. And then when you listen to the Five Finger Death Punch version of the song, now I'm being a little nitpicky here. I thought that the guitar solo in the song was a little superfluous.
I don't like the
I think it's just
solo,
here, throw Zoltan on this real quick.
Yeah, he's got to do his solo or something.
It's just like about, hey, I got to have my space, my time, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not necessarily judging the guy.
No,
that's what it kind of sounds like.
That's what it feels like. Yeah.
But that being said, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not necessarily ripping on these guys. Every other part of that song, I think it's fantastic.
It's a good cover, and again,
the video's good too.
Overall, it's not a bad cover, and again, it's nice for me because it's so much easier for me to sing in whatever key Ivan's singing in.
Yeah,
whatever they have him set up for all of his songs, I can hit those lower notes a lot easier than I can hit the higher notes.
Well, he's a deep baritone. He's a very deep baritone.
So it's easier for me to sing with it. I mean, I would like to think I have a fairly deep voice. So singing in his stuff is great for me anyway. But it's so you have two modern bands here, two modern metal bands, hard rock metal bands. They're doing a lot of covers. I want to throw another one out for you that I didn't put on here, but I realize is actually probably one of the best covers I've heard in probably the last 15 years.
Uh-huh.
Bad Wolf's Zombie.
I was not a fan of that when it came out.
Really?
And then I heard a lot more about what was supposed to happen.
The fact that Dolores was supposed to actually
be on the track, and she
passed away
overdosed
she could.
the night before she went into the studio.
Have you seen the video?
Yes, and I think it's fantastic.
The video is amazing, and the song is...
Yeah, that was... And that's one thing, too. Sometimes the story behind a song...
And the circumstances will
and the
make
circumstances that surround it will change what the song feels like to somebody.
Yeah.
That's something that you know what? I originally heard, I was like, oh, they're ripping this off. This is ridiculous. It sounds like, honestly, to me, it sounded like Five Finger Death Punch covering the Cranberries.
I can see that.
But then I actually went and listened to more of their material. I was like, these guys can't be one-dimensional. And I like their stuff.
Their stuff is interesting.
I do like their stuff, and I really liked their take on it.
Yeah.
Now that I go back and I listen to it again, I was like, okay. What it was showing, hey, these things haven't changed in the 20 some odd years since the song originally came out.
Well, and the song was even about war, Irish rebellions in the past.
Yeah.
And still nothing changes.
Yeah.
We still have the same warlike stuff, still people doing all these things for greed, for whatever, and not caring about who it hurts in the poor.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So it's a theme that is still universal, and the few changes they make in the lyrics are fantastic.
Yes, I like those, yes.
It's amazing.
Adding a couple of things.
We are now at the biggest cover song of all time.
What?
I contend this is the biggest cover song of all time. We need to talk about the biggest cover song of all time.
Okay.
It's probably not on your list because you didn't even think of it.
Okay.
When I tell you, I think it'll make sense.
I have an idea what it could
What is it?
Is it Whitney Houston?
Yes.
Called it.
Was it on your list?
It is on my list.
It is
right
on
there
the
in the
list. Fantastic. It's on the list. Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You.
Yep.
Biggest cover song of all time, especially when you consider it sold the crap out of the Bodyguard soundtrack. Sold the crap out of that thing.
It did. Here's the thing. I prefer Dolly over Whitney when it comes down to this version.
Dude. Twinsies. Twinsies. This is now you realize this is the unpopular opinion, right?
Oh, it totally is.
Totally the unpopular.
It totally is. It totally is. I prefer the Dolly version, the original Dolly version, over
hell yes
over the Whitney Houston version. But I do also completely respect the Whitney Houston version.
I can agree with you on that. I listened to the Whitney Houston version enough as a kid to have respect for it, and I mean, I listened to it to the point that I mean that whole silent moment before she pops back in with the final chorus, I had that down to like the exact second, millisecond. I knew how exactly what that gap was because I had heard the song so many damn times.
Yeah, I agree.
I had the album. I had the Bodyguard soundtrack.
Oh, nice.
I had it on cassette, mind you, but I had it.
Cool.
And I listened to the crap out of that thing.
I will tell you this. One thing that I actually like with Whitney, this is like I will consider this another cover, technically speaking. Obviously, it is. Whitney Houston was one of the most disciplined singers when she was in front of a microphone.
Oh yeah,
ever.
Yeah,
in the history of modern music. And one of the testaments to that is there is I believe it was a Super Bowl, her version of the Star Spangled Banner that was done straight ahead.
Her version is probably the best version ever done. Period.
Yeah.
We could go
it
through
was a straight ahead, just on the beat, very marching.
I don't even think it's really version. An arguable thing that Whitney Houston has the best.
It's really funny too.
Yeah.
Sorry, I apologize for interrupting, but it's really funny too because she was somebody who was known for a lot of dancing melismas. For a long time, she would dance around the note that she would hit a lot of the time. She was somebody who influenced a lot of people.
The musical terms.
Yeah, it's called a melisma when you sing multiple notes in a single breath.
Okay.
That's a melisma. She was known for a lot of dancing melismas. What does she do?
Nothing in that.
Absolutely not. She hits it. She hits it full
there's no
force.
There's no extra embellishment.
Every time. Yeah.
There's no extra embellishment. She just that is probably
and everybody
the
else
best
does
version
that.
of it.
Yeah,
ever.
They do it as a solo vocalist with a bunch of vibrato and a bunch of stuff that's going on. Nope, she was completely the opposite of that.
I remember Christina Aguilera's version, 10 years ago? No, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
It was god awful.
I wasn't a fan.
It was just a terrible version of it.
It's there's a difference between that's
not as bad as Roseanne
Barr's
Barr's version of it. Roseanne Barr's version was the worst probably ever. But no, Whitney Houston's version of the Star Spangled Banner was probably the best one ever done.
Yeah,
ever done.
I agree.
And I'm not saying that her version of I Will Always Love You is terrible. It's a fantastic version of the song. It is. But that's not the version that makes me cry.
Yeah,
Dolly Parton's version is the one that makes me cry.
Totally. Like this is a sign. This is a nod of respect.
Yeah.
To like from both of us, I would consider this is a nod of respect. And when it comes down to cover songs in general, like I know a couple of covers that I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Scissor Sisters cover in Pink Floyd. If you've ever heard their version of Comfortably Numb,
wow,
it doesn't make any sense.
I'm just trying to imagine that. That's hilarious.
Imagine it. I guarantee you, imagine it. It's worse. Far worse than what you could think it is. It's horrible.
Are you glad I know Scissor Sisters?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know them well, but I do know them.
It's bad.
Wow.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. I like to have as much respect for all musicians as much as possible. And Scissor Sisters does...
Pat Boone covering anything.
I don't know, dude. Pat Boone's Crazy Train was cool.
It is kind of amusing. Ozzy liked it.
Yeah.
He put it on the TV show.
He put it on TV. Yeah. He put it on the show. I got a soft spot for Pat Boone, man. He's awesome.
Okay.
He's cool.
He's a bit of a cultural appropriator, but that's all right.
This is true. I don't know, man. Just got a nice voice. I have no idea.
I mean,
there's a lot of those guys from that era that were very much doing
the cultural
appropriation thing. You
there's
know,
actually,
Sinatra was doing it all over the place.
No, there are actually songs that Little Richard sang.
Dean Martin too.
Purposely too fast for Pat Boone to be able to sing along.
So
seriously, purposely too fast.
Little Richard? Is that what you said?
Yeah, Little Richard was singing songs.
Dude,
purposely
tip of the hat to Little Richard
for Pat Boone to be able to cover.
Hell yeah.
Again, I'll try to put it in the notes as to which song it was specifically. I remember there was one specific song he sang too fast, so Pat Boone couldn't cover it.
That's great.
Yeah.
See, I don't know too much about Pat Boone, so I'm going to have to look him up now after I've talked about it. Be like, hey, I like Pat Boone. I'm going to look him up and be like, I don't like Pat Boone.
I think he actually does a version of Enter Sandman.
Yes, he does.
And it's god awful.
It's big band swing.
I like big band swing. This is god awful.
I could keep going. Like, there's another one. Richard Cheese's covers are fantastic, by the way. He's known for lounge covers.
Yeah.
And my favorite version of what he did was Hot for Teacher. His version of Hot for Teacher is smoking.
I have not heard that one. I will have to
his version of Hot for Teacher is smoking. Also, one of the DC movies that both of us tend to like that not many people do. I just watched the extended version of Batman v Superman.
Yeah, love that movie.
Richard Cheese has got covers all over that thing. All of the lounge music you think you hear from original artists is all Richard Cheese and Lounge Against the Machine.
Really?
Yes.
Every
time we say goodbye, that's Richard Cheese.
I am going to have to go back and watch the movie again.
Yeah,
and I have the extended version too.
I remembered hearing it and going, that voice sounds familiar, and it's not Frank. Who is that? It was Richard Cheese.
Wow, I'm going to have to go back.
Really good.
And it doesn't surprise me.
This second section has gone so long.
That's all right. It doesn't surprise me with Zack Snyder though. If you look at the music in The Watchmen, amazing.
Oh yeah,
amazing music in The Watchmen.
I got to go back and see The Watchmen actually again. It's been years.
Hallelujah's in that, which is also a cover.
Was it Buckley's version?
I'm not sure if it's Cohen's or Buckley's. I'm not positive whose version's in there.
Interesting. All right, well, what do we do now?
We'll wrap this up since it's going to be another long episode. Maybe some things can be edited out of it.
Hey, who knows? We might edit for time. We'll just let it run. I'm down with letting it run. If people enjoy the conversation, you want to listen, cool, man. We're just discussing opinions. That's all.
Until somebody says you guys are going too long, we'll keep it going. Bow chicka bow wow. Anyway. Sorry, had to turn that.
That's
somehow.
Interesting.
All right, thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed. If you like what you heard, come check us out on YouTube, or if you're watching it on YouTube, please like our thing, subscribe. There's that little bell icon that you want to click on so that you get the notifications. That helps us out. You may see us on Facebook, Twitter, Spotify. Now we're on TuneIn. That's a new one for us, sir. Google Play. Still not on iTunes, but that's okay.
We'll figure that out. We're working on it, man.
At some point or another, we'll get it.
You guys can check us out over at Zencron.com or the XennialChronicles.com if you want to type that much in your keyboard or your phone. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook if you just look us up at Xenchron, Xenchron. Thanks again for listening, and hope you guys have a good one.
Later.
Thank you for tuning in, friends. The journey continues next week.